Okay. We'll call the meeting October 2nd to order of the NACUS Project Research Advisory Committee. And first on our agenda is approval of the minutes from September 11th.
I have some about that. It was more, we have Jen here tonight instead of Tessa. But I just found in reading those minutes back, the way the use of the first person is used a lot. Like people will say, and it won't be attributed. I don't know if anybody else looked over them.
I did look over.
But I thought that was very confusing. And it's kind of confusing sometimes as to who the I is that's speaking. And sometimes you can work backwards, and we all, I think if it's usually not a big deal because I love that there's word for word videos, but like let's say we lost those or something like that. I just think going forward, we should say, Harry said, I will, or, always attribute those I's or use quotes, but not just a first person from an unknown narrator.
I didn't have any problem reading them, but
Yeah.
It's the people 20 years from now who
Yeah.
want to go back and look at a
Yep.
page of notes.
oh yeah, there'll be so much of that.
Well, it's easy. It's easier to suss out because when you're at the meeting, you can who said that, but just in a housekeeping thing, I think it would be better to
mention that to Tessa and
Yep.
But anything substantive or
I thought there was one place where a resolution as a revolution.
Yeah,
there was,
Okay,
there was
I can't
that.
find it now.
I saw it, but
Revolution.
it seemed like it was clear
It gave
to me.
It gave me a giggle.
Hayes asked for the language in the revolution. Barrett read the resolution.
Oh, yes, I remember that part.
It is,
I will correct revolution to resolution. That's one of the more fun ones.
I mean, I think even 20 years from now, they would be able to figure out that it's just a typo, but ready to entertain a motion to approve as amended.
I move to accept the minutes as amended.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 I
Hey, we got the minutes approved. And we can move to public comment. So we've got some people here. Did anybody have public comment for us tonight? No public comment. You're listening.
may. I invited the History Center to come. I think they've been left out of this conversation. And I think there's a lot of overlap. So I don't know if maybe if we get to talking and we can just interface directly or, I think they've been working on some stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong, but really reorienting the History Center to put tribal history front and center. Working with the tribe to get grants. They've received some grants. So I think, am I correct in all that?
$11,000 in grants so far for the redesign project. I should stand up. For the permanent permanent display redesign project phase 1, where we bring the Native American history to the forefront of the museum, and the Class of Nehalem tribe wrote us a beautiful letter of recommendation for that, and we were able to get $11,000. We're applying for a few more, but this actually lets us kick off the project and start the ball rolling. We hope to be meeting with the tribal architect hopefully in November, if not sooner, probably November though, just so that we get one more grant in there that opens on November 1st. And I really hope that we can be more involved. I saw that you guys have a list of local nonprofits that you're working with, to include environmental education. I've been reading your minutes from last meeting, and I just wanted to remind everyone that environmental history is history. And so we do also work with the North Coast Land Conservancy. We have a board member at large that is with their organization, and we have a few ties with the University of Washington's environmental studies, history studies, to help us implement that at the museum. And so hopefully we'll be able to maybe be an extension of what you guys are trying to do. We just hope that we can somehow be involved in this.
Perfect.
And thanks for inviting us, Andrew.
What organization did you receive the grant from?
We got grants from the Autzen Foundation and Kinsman Foundation. Thank you.
So for the record, that sounded like public comment to me.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't want the podium. I thought you might hear me come back here.
You have her name, Jen?
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you. And I hope you will attend and be partners in this, because I'm sure you will be.
And it does concern me that now we'll have two organizations fighting over the same slice. Competing.
Oh, I think that's where the village was is not going to be it's going to be a collaboration rather than a confrontation, I think.
I think it's a complimentary
Yeah, complimentary.
addition.
It's possible we'll compete for some of the same dollars as what I hear, and that's.
And competing for visitors too, Some people may go to both, but some people may go to the brand new.
I certainly see them as sending them.
Partners.
Yeah. So thank you for being here, and I hope you will continue to come. Okay, so today we're going to continue our research discussion. And last meeting, we did kind of break up into some subgroups to look at some individual topics. So we had 3 subgroups. One to look at programming, one to look at third-party events, and another to look at the beginnings of forming a nonprofit. And so some of that is in your packet. I hope you've had an opportunity to take a look at that. The third-party event information you have printed. It's I guess it's a start is the best way to describe it. It's not complete, but it's a start. So I would like to begin, and I would again like to see if we can do this in an hour and a half.
Yes, there's
So
on that I'd like to.
let's see. Yeah, there's a football game on. So let's start talking about the report on programming, and if maybe you can give us some brief comments, and then the rest of the committee can weigh in on and what they see, feedback or directions they'd like you to take this.
All right. Les?
I'm here.
So should I start? I wish it's gonna be fun. It's really integral into what we're going to be doing. I had a chance to read over, and I'm sorry that I didn't call the History Museum, but you were in my thoughts, but I don't know. Anyway, but the people, and I want to add you to this paragraph. It will be added to the paragraph, but the programming that we'll be focusing on is we're calling it the Thunderbird program, and it would be plus the partners that have committed to working with us: Doug Durr, Mindy Hardwick, Angela Benton, Lisa Haybecker, Graham Clegg, and Katie Volke, plus the History Museum has said they want to. So we will be distilling information and creating curriculum and event type events and also hands-on teaching experiences, lectures, movies, it's all wide open to what we can do with this, with the space. We don't want to limit it when it's concerning education and in the environmental part of it. So we were talking about the Thunderbird program, and I had Dick looked it over, and he made a lot of different comments on what he wants. And this is just a rough outline of what we are looking towards. And then on the Forest to Sea, that will be focusing more on the Nicola Creek ecosystem. And also restoration efforts. We want that to be part of what we can pull in there. Ecotourism kind of activities where people know they can come here and they can help us restore, do salmon restoration or beaver restoration or tree planting. That's become a big thing in the world where people go to a destination and help out. So we would like to do that. And Les, do you want to talk about the history of natural?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So I'll back up just one step. So the way that I saw this document coming together was really in the manner of storylines, one of which was certainly the Clatsop-Nehalem people's experience on this site, the Thunderbird program. And then the ecological system, we've got a unique setting where we go all the way from basically the top of coastal range all the way down to the rocky intertidal zones, and those are all readily at hand. And so that gives us plenty of food for thought, if you will, for what specific pieces of curriculum you want to put together. And we know just, informally anyway, that there's already a bunch of things that have been built by others that would be available to us either at no cost or at some cost. But the material's already been put together. It would simply be a matter of scheduling it and providing it to the public. So those were the two that Betty mentioned. The two that I kind of was focused on were what I called the human historical story, and that of course goes all the way back as far as tribal memory goes. It also it starts to talk about significant events. It talks about the first interactions between the Europeans and the tribes. More recently, the Clatsop Plains and how that developed out and influenced what happened, in and around Cannon Beach. And then finally, exactly what happened with Cannon Beach as a city. I think there's lots of things there that can be mapped out in a timeline, and then we can pick and choose what parts of that to amplify and illustrate. And then finally, there's the natural history of the whole area, which fascinates me, and I think it will others. I didn't realize until I started really digging into it that the Pacific Northwest coast is actually the newest land in the entire Northern Hemisphere. It didn't even exist as hard land up until, a million years ago, or maybe even less than that. I can't recall the exact number, but it's a product of the seafloor being lifted up and the softer sediment eroded. And what we've got today is very much a moving landscape. It will change again tomorrow. Anyway, I think that whole story of how the Oregon coast came to be is fascinating, and there's a lot of things that have already been published that we can make use of to tell that story. Anyway, so in my mind, we had easily 4 different major themes that we could pick and choose from as far as a curriculum goes. We've started looking at what other, what kinds of events have already been held in the Cannon Beach area, and started putting together a 12-month calendar look that I chose not to submit for this meeting because it's kind of confusing, but trying to map out exactly what times of each day and each week and each month this NACUS facility is going to be used for something or another, or what times are available for special programming. I think once we get a little bit further down the road, we'll have a good working calendar that will visually give you a feel for how busy the facility is likely to be at any given time. And I thought that was something that we did want to provide to the group.
That brings up something I've been thinking about is where does the nonprofit take ownership of this sort of stuff? I mean, like there needs to be some room for them to be involved and figure it out. And I worry about us drilling down, being prescriptive to a point that then the nonprofit's going to probably come in and put boots on the ground and find a new reality anyway. So, I mean, I think the outline fits what we have in the uses statement, and I love the name of the Thunderbird program is 11 out of 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know about creating a calendar. That's a job for the management and the nonprofit.
Well, in our last meeting, we were talking about, we were trying to get a rough outline of how this facility will be used so that we can figure out where we can get our grants. And we're kind of at that stage right now. And when you think of Haystack Rock, wasn't the Haystack Rock program, wasn't the nonprofit formed with the intention of what was there at the Rock? It wasn't something, a nonprofit I don't see is coming in and creating a program that we haven't talked about what the uses are already going to be. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I feel like we're probably trying to work out some of these things, but then I feel like we're kind of giving them, a good head start on this. But I agree that I think they're going to invent a lot of it themselves and figure out what works and what doesn't. I'm curious if you've looked at seasonality of all this. That's where, giving this some advanced thought and thinking about what kinds of things work seasonally, and then being able to, lay that in the lap of the nonprofit so that some of these things are already worked out so that they're not having to reinvent everything, I think is going to be valuable.
One of the things we were looking at is I called different people that have lived here a while and asked what were the things that the community did in the site, like what things have been taken away from the community, like Christmas concerts and those types. So I made sure on the calendar that those things had a place. And from that, then we build to the next level so that the community itself would have a voice. And then from there, we would try to put things in the winter season that would draw people. For instance, we could do a short day, long night film festival in January, or we could do like the Savor sort of thing. We could have a base place, and then the Get Lit, you were talking a little bit about having a place for that. So just trying to figure out what we already do, some things we could create, and then also thinking about how we can make it a place where community knows, oh, well, we can go every morning from maybe 8 to 10 to use the gym, that kind of thing. If you laid out that skeleton, then we're able to see what kind of curriculum we can start creating.
I see it as a sample calendar.
Yeah, a sample calendar.
A pseudo calendar to help us and the council understand where the feasibility is going to be.
Yeah.
And that eventually filters down to the contract so that it can come back to the nonprofit so they can start creating what they want to do. I think I agree with Andrew that the nonprofit will benefit by our research, but they're the ones who will ultimately decide what the criteria is, what the shows are, what the timing is, because that would be their job. And I also am a little concerned that if we get too far ahead of them, it's going to be harder to find volunteers.
That's kind of what
Nobody's want to come in.
Yeah.
They don't have that
creativity.
opportunity to be creative.
Well, one of the things that I feel is a mandate, I mean, I use that word loosely, but something that we have been focusing on is the center being a place where the tribe can have an influence and they can direct how this all falls together. So I want to make sure that that doesn't get diluted. So that's one of my concerns. And so Dick sent me a volume of information on research and curriculum and what the site was and how they want it to be moving forward. So I feel like we need to put that at the top of our list as far as how we're focusing on the use of the space in the educational part of it.
Let's just stick to the kind of the curriculum is what we're talking about.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So,
and I'm happy with the document. That's all I'm saying.
okay. Yeah.
I would like to see it expanded a little bit from curriculum. And I would like to see some thought being put into the daily operation.
Yeah.
And what kind of stories we're going to be telling on a daily basis. I mean, they may be the self-learning things. What are the interpretive things that are going to be there? Because we're going to need to understand that stuff so we can get that in place for opening. So I feel like kind of expanding the scope from, okay, there's this living history thing, there's this class, there's to really being clear that it's like, okay, well, 5 days a week, we're going to be open and we're going to tell these stories.
Okay.
So that may be, interpretive displays or videos or, I don't know, that's something for Mindy to wrap her head around a little bit is kind of the self-learning kinds of
Right.
daily stories, as well as the trail. I mean, that's a 7-day-a-week
Right.
learning opportunity that we should start to more clearly put into this big pot of the stories we're telling.
I
Right.
don't have your final document right now, but I didn't hear tonight. What Les was calling those stories, and I love that idea. Working it out of stories, but I didn't hear the arts.
You didn't hear the
Arts.
Oh,
Mhm.
well, yes, and I'm sorry, I didn't mention arts because that's really a big part of it. But if you look at the classes that we were talking about as far as wood carving, basket making, cooking, traditional herbal medicine, but we can also
Maybe art should be like, not a subgroup, but like just as big as,
yeah,
those, the top 3.
I agree with that.
yeah,
I think that is missing.
yeah, I was reading the nonprofit, the page of talking about nonprofits, and it said the nonprofit could be cultural, environmental, educational. Well, it listed it, but I was pulling out cultural, environmental, educational, arts, conservation. Those are all good reasons to start a nonprofit, and this is all going to be happening as far as I was thinking at the center. And we have room for all of that. It can be so inclusive.
Well, that's where I see Toll Arts Colony being a partner. That's where the Canada Beach Arts Association is a partner.
Yeah.
But I kind of expect that.
That's when I start to worry though, too, or are they going to be competing against us?
But I don't know.
It's a concern.
I think, if you can host event, 12 on Hall, that's great. If you need another kind of space, then yeah, so I don't know.
Well, that's
That would be up to
Yeah.
you.
So I had some thoughts along those lines. I share the concern that Andrew's expressing about basically taking taking something from some other venue within the community that's already been providing that service. We need, we're not trying to steal from others. And I think that's just going to be something that we're going to have to be very careful about as we go forward. When I started building out this calendar that I mentioned, that was something that came to me because some of the events that are on our short list of things that have happened in the community in the past have happened in other venues, obviously. And it's not obvious to me that in every case, it makes sense to move it to the new NACUS facility. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. That's not my decision.
No.
But I think we need to be sensitive to the overall impact that we make in the community. One comment though, that the events that are funded with tourism and arts dollars, that annual funding, it makes perfect sense to me that all of those events really should happen at NACUS, because not only are they being funded with their whole mission is to meet the needs of tourism and the tourism mandate. And so why wouldn't you use the facility that's designed to do that? And those are not always being handled at NACUS now, but I think they should be in going forward.
I appreciate what you're saying, Les. But the venues, there should always fit the event. Some are gonna make more sense to be at the Coastal Theater because it's a theater, or some are gonna make more,
Right.
but
Yeah.
where they can, and probably new ones will pop up at NACUS because it has there's different abilities there. Yes, totally. Where they fit, yeah.
One of the.
Yeah, I think we do need to be sensitive to that, but there are some things like the Friends of Haystack Rock Library Lecture Series that is going to be much better suited for NACUS. The Cannon Beach Arts Association Art Camp, is at the.
They do want to do that.
Well, I was hoping, because I was thinking,
But I think we gotta be careful about this, because once we start prescribing events to spaces.
Yeah.
Is where you're running into problems. That's where you're running into the fear of usurping somebody else.
Yeah.
So we have a space, it will be available. It's the provider's choice
Yeah,
what space they want to use. As soon as we start usurping what they want to do, art class of some kind, would work just fine down at 12 on a Hall, or maybe even a cooking class actually might even be better 12 on a Hall, because we don't have a kitchen set up for that. They have a fairly decent kitchen for teaching.
I think we just have to wrap our heads around that this is really a sample. It's not a plan. We expect, the nonprofit to follow exactly. We're trying to get some groundwork done.
And make a tool that helps guide the contract. What this contract says is where we're gonna have some standing as far as creating the wording of what needs to be done seasonally, location wise, timing, it's that kind of stuff. So
One of the criteria when I was looking for events or thinking about events was just that. Where are they housed now, or are they housed now? And I was trying to think about things that haven't happened, just so that there wouldn't, because the Christmas bazaar should be that's where it's always been, that kind of thing. I wouldn't want to take that away. It's just giving us another place that we could have other events that might draw more people, and even places for our community to go and have, have more time together. Yeah.
I think we should say right now, good work on this. It's a good start. Is there other feedback on what you'd like to see involved as the programming continues to be developed from the rest of the committee. Any other thoughts?
Said, I think the most important part of it is that what do you go in there and get when it's open? That's kind of more important than the auxiliary offerings. That's, priority wise, what you go in and get when it's open is probably the number one action item.
Andrew, is that you that made that comment?
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was. Could you just expand on that a little
Yeah,
bit?
please.
Well, I mean, just when we talk about priorities, if it's going to be open from noon to 5 or whatever the hours are, the other special things, workshops are going to be auxiliary productions. But what happens when it's staffed and open, what I go inside and get, whether it's by a screen or a diorama or a person in a costume or whatever it is, that's gotta be there first.
Yeah, what are
Yeah.
those stories that we're going to tell? We want to
That's-
tell the story, certainly the story of the site and the Nakus people. But then there are lots of the ecology stories that we have to identify. I think one of the great opportunities of this project is the stewardship messaging that we can deliver
And
towards
you know what?
sustainability.
And we don't have a big duplicate there
Not
in
really.
the community. I mean, you could, the Land Conservancy has a different mission. So that's not coming in and dividing up a pie.
But you've got a lot of it here. Geology, yes, it's a story we should tell. I think rainforest, a story we should tell. Intertidal, a story we should tell. Wetlands, a story we should tell. Watershed, a story we should tell. It felt a little bit like Ecola Creek Forest Reserve heavy, but I hear that you're actually talking forest to sea. But I think we just need to move it along so we really wrap our heads around what those stories are.
Okay.
Can I ask one more question? Just pose it to the group. I watched the presentation to the DRB, the stuff that CETA presented. Is that outdoor space layout what this group generally is expecting to see? I'm thinking about the comments that we need to start thinking about what that outdoor story is going to be, what the space is going to be used for. And of course, that would really be with the help of Dick and the other members of the tribe. But I just want to make sure that I understand what the playing field's generally going to look like.
I've done a little work on that myself, and I actually did email Dustin because so far the interpretive trail we've talked about is a very complex trail with native plants, and none of the other story is told. And I did bring that up with Dustin. It's like, there should be the story of the watershed. There should be the story of the wildlife that's there. There should be the story of the wetlands. There should be the story of look across the creek, Lewis and Clark, Clark camped over there. There's the spruce trees, and we should be telling the story of the rainforests, along with, the Nakus site and the welcoming, and we should be telling the story of the elk.
Let me jump in here. That's not the architect's job. Their job is not to present what the stories are going to be. They're there to create the trail, which hopefully interlocks with what the stories are. But what I would hope that they are doing is making a trail that is flexible enough that we can lay out stories as we get them, or as we want to lay them out.
I mean, our architect's the one that should be making, interpretive signage for us. Is that their expertise? And is that a cost-worthy way to do it?
And that's not really what I'm saying, but at least my vision of this is we've got a trail that starts at the Southeast Plaza and tells the story of the historic site, moves through the native plants, moves down to the estuary, tells some of the other history stories, the natural history stories, and loops back around and, you know, back to where it started or back to the north entrance. And that's not in the plan. So
Yeah, if at some point we either need to start, the city or somebody needs to start creating a process to find the people who are gonna write that story up. Or, my idea would be to take exactly what you said, and this is the direction of the trail. And this is the progression. And here are however many that we want to lay out, posts for signs. And we create the signs and put them on as we need them. And I would make them as flexible as possible so you can rotate them. That kind of stuff.
so they'd what?
So you can rotate
Okay.
or modify them for different times of the year. I think that's a great educational tool, is to be able to at one time do an environmental trail, and then maybe another time of the year do an arts trail or historical trail. So that's what I would design, but nobody listens to my design. But, in the sense that what I was hearing is that I don't think we need to really pay a whole lot of attention to what's in the trail, just make sure that there is a trail there.
Right.
That's the architecture.
That serves this purpose of looping around the facility and coming, it starts here and coming back.
Next to other trails in the future.
But I can show you the work I've done on that, and that'll be at least a starting point.
Yeah. We also have, we've been working on the idea of having signage for ECFR, and this ties together. So it doesn't make sense for us to do the ECFR signage until we get this figured out, because I think merging them is smart money-wise in every other way.
This does need to be done elegantly,
Yes,
because Cannon Beach is oversigned as it is. And too many signs becomes no signs.
I totally agree with that. I much more see stops along the trail and a QR code that tells you the story in your hand. And then it serves Sam's purpose.
I'm gonna fight you on that, because being out in nature is about not being on your screen. It's about taking that screen and keeping it in your pocket while you go on that walk.
It could also be the brochure you pick up at the beginning of the trail too. So there are other ways to do it, but I don't want to see necessarily a whole bunch of signs all the way around.
It also reflects on the fact that we need to find somebody who's really good at tech to figure out what are those other answers, the means to do it now. If that's the world now.
I get so conflicted when I'm thinking about us doing this, which is supposed to be like a gathering place, and we're gonna spend all this time and effort on digital products that are competing against the world, and I just starts a spiral.
I just want to especially tell the stewardship story in the most effective way possible, because the 40 signs at the beach entrance don't do it. And this is an opportunity for us to do it.
The longhouse.
And really an effective way to do it in an engaging way. So I mean, I feel like that's the real opportunity we have here. Any other feedback for this subcommittee?
No, I really like the Thunderbird program.
oh, yay.
I think it all sounds really good. I think you guys have made a great start.
It is a great start.
Thanks.
Okay.
Can I just say one more thing? If anybody I'll give you my phone number, my contact, and just let us know as we go, because we just want everybody's opinion. We want it to be a group effort. So yeah, I'd like to talk to you a lot because of the History Museum. I don't want any overstepping bounds and stuff. So anyway.
No, it's good for us too. like have that all in our heads as we're moving forward. So,
Because we are a community and all this, the nature that surrounds us is our story. And we want to make sure everybody else respects when they come here, they respect what we love. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
okay. Shall we move on to the report on third-party events?
Let's do the nonprofit, because I think that's pretty cut and clear.
Yeah, I mean, this is,
That suggestion. Okay, let's talk about nonprofit. I have worked with the Nonprofit Association of Oregon before, and so it was kind of like just,
I mean,
we got to find out steps to forming a nonprofit. Here they are.
and
I
so
thought
that
this
is
was
very
fabulous. I
good.
wanted to learn how to do that for a long time, and I looked at it and I thought to myself, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
It's
No, honestly.
It's very well laid out.
Yeah. I think the most important, that says it. There's not a lot of dithering on any of that. The only important part, I mean, is getting it going, and the other important part is getting the lawyer to start working on the contract between the city and the nonprofit. I think that's the hard part, but luckily that's the lawyer's job.
I have Dick on the phone. He's not able to connect by computer, but I put him on speaker and use him.
here.
Here,
Great, thank you.
Dick, can you hear okay?
Hi, everybody.
It's
Hey, hi.
crank him up.
Can he call into the
Try
Zoom?
that again.
Good.
That would be better.
Hi, Dick.
So you've been following us so far, Dick?
I just got on.
I can't hear him.
If we move the phone up here.
Closer, Dick.
Okay, I'm gonna keep moving here.
It's fine.
Like the most important thing, first step is get the name ironed out. That's one of the things in the nonprofit thing you need, that's what
Yeah, I was just,
bullet points.
I was just going to say, let's prioritize those steps and what should we be doing first, mission, bylaws, board makeup. What's important to the next step we start taking.
There's an important, though there is one of the big choices in there is whether it's a members organization or a board,
Board.
right?
How is the board going to get elected?
How's the board? What?
That's gonna be in the bylaws.
It gets
Yeah.
appointed.
Right.
But who elects the members? Who nominates them to go on? You need a membership.
I disagree.
No, you just need a board of directors.
Yeah,
We need to figure out how we're going to appoint that board of directors, but I've been
the
involved.
board of directors appoints the new board members. My thought was it's a non-membership thing. It's a
Yeah.
board of directors.
Yeah.
Right.
That sounds really dangerous to me. You can stack. up
And I would say
so-
it the other way, a membership organization for this type of facility. You would have way too many chiefs stirring the pot. Because every member thinks they're in charge. And I've been involved in nonprofits that were membership and switched to
Is
boards.
there any Cannon Beach nonprofit we have that does as a member situation now?
No, but the food pantry started out as a membership organization. That was my first foray into membership, and it didn't work.
I mean, they may have membership, but they're not,
No, but like, I mean,
not in charge of,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, you have a board of directors that runs it. And
Well, I
you-
understand that, but who places the board of directors, not initially, but later on down the road?
The board.
So they pick their own people.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's the way it works. Most of the organizations I've worked with are exactly that way.
Absolutely.
We're just starting a nonprofit, and that's the way we are structuring it. Is also it was all new to me, but I ended up seeing the advantage of it. So I agree.
We can also take the example of all the different centers that Deb did the research for and provided us with all that really good real-time comparisons out there, and they've all got board of directors.
This would, could there, I don't know if would work this way. Maybe it doesn't work with a nonprofit this way, but like, so that the council couldn't say, compel the removal of a member that couldn't be worked on the contract, or I mean, like,
I guess that's a contract term, but I would think you either use the board of
I mean, I guess
directors or you don't use the board of directors.
you have your other
They could cancel the contract is what they could do.
Right, yeah,
to
Yeah.
get it done.
and that would be something that would be addressed in the bylaws. How you remove.
Don't you have a board?
Mhm.
Yeah. How does that work?
We have a great copacetic board.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know, well.
But it is, yeah.
I'm open to hearing yeah, no, it doesn't. I've heard of, I have not experienced it, but I've known people that have worked for dysfunctional boards.
Sam, do you want to continue to make a case for a membership that actually makes decisions?
Well, I've worked with two clubs that were totally. And the real issue is getting the members to actually come to the meeting, because you have an annual meeting. But in that sense, there was always an oversight to when you had somebody on the board that was not working. You had the ability to remove somebody. I guess oversight is my concern, not so much as selection.
But I think if you have a good board, you have that oversight.
Yeah, I think.
And there is an additional level here with the council having maybe not veto members on board, but if things go haywire, they can cancel the contract. I mean, you could go all that far. So, or you could
Yeah, so we're
pump the brakes on
a lot
funding.
on the contract to be able to do some sort of oversight, because I'm just trying to conjure up a bad scenario. Is you get a board that kind of starts to realize they can make more money if they have more weddings. Now, the contract would probably say nix on that. But I'm just saying, there is always that potential down the road that things can change.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of arts, heritage, and ecology goes out the window. That if it's board directed, that doesn't have any oversight on it. Now, granted, I've only known a couple boards in Cannon Beach that have really been a problem. And they took time and they worked themselves out. That was internal, and I agree with that. I've also worked with a board that had somebody who was causing a lot of problems. And it took membership to get rid of them, because none of the rest of the board had the gumption to get rid of them. So there is just politics involved here. So I guess I'm leery of.
That could make it more political though, if you have add more voters. And
True.
lobbying and.
That's the other thing I was also heading towards is how do we have a potential community volunteerism effort involved in the projects that we have there. And one way to do that is create a membership system. But that gets really complicated, and I agree that's a tricky thing to start sorting out.
I think there could be a membership system that's just not.
That's
It's hard to the board.
Like the library does.
Yeah.
You know, they have a board of directors and they have library members. And the members don't run the library, the board of directors does.
Would it be member-based system less nimble? No,
No, I mean,
I don't know, because I don't have experience with it. I don't know if they go on to every decision. I don't know
that
what.
depends on your bylaws.
Yeah.
And the bylaws that I work with all the membership did was approve the slate for new candidates and any change in the bylaws. That's all they ever voted on. So, and when the slate got, onerous, then they created new amendments, and that worked as far as I was concerned. But no, I'm just saying I want to be cautious about this. And if the weight is then put on the contract, then let's put it on the contract.
And that's where it needs to be. Yeah.
Okay, so, and again, we're not necessarily making decisions tonight, but I just want to see where we're at consensus wise. And it seems like consensus wise, we're at a non-member board of directors.
That's what I would vote for.
That seems like that's the only, other than the name, that's the only real decision regarding the, but that.
I guess, Sam had brought up some things about the makeup of the board, and we could certainly have a little bit of discussion about that. But I mean, is organization name something you want to talk about? Would you like a recommendation coming from a subcommittee on that?
Well,
And then we'll.
I just, we want to make this an hour and a half meeting.
The
Spitballing
one
that
thing,
name is not.
the one thing
Yeah.
is that you can put it in your bylaws and you can name it for the document, but the board a year from now could change it. So I would call it a working name until we actually have some people to
Well,
talk
just,
to.
I just mean to start the application
Yeah,
process.
I would call it a working name.
Yeah.
And be fine with that.
And we've all, just like Sam mentioned in his letters, NACUS, I mean, we call it NACUS, and I would love to know if there's any reason why we should add on to that. Maybe just have a little thing underneath it saying something like land, culture and community, where land, culture and community merge or something but NACUS.
Well,
When I
now you're
saw-
naming the facility, and that's not even something that,
Yeah,
unless we're tasked with that later, I don't think we should go there.
okay.
We're just talking about naming the nonprofit that runs it.
I think the working name should be NACUS.
Okay.
That's kind of what we decided. We all had a different version of NACUS in our names.
If it was up to us to name it, the most efficient way to do it, I don't know the best way, but probably is brainstorming a bunch of names, having a list that is already prepared, and we just vote or rank the choices.
And are you talking about the facility again? Or are you?
Naming.
All right.
But I don't want to get into it now.
Yeah, let's not do
That's
it.
how I would.
Let's,
Had it named.
so maybe we will make a recommendation on what to call the nonprofit board as a starting point. And we can hash it out
Sounds
once we've made a recommendation. Anything else on that list of things you'd like to see us working on between meetings? I mean, potential bylaws.
I didn't see.
Session.
Or did you see, I didn't notice it in here, but did they give a rough estimate of, once your documentation is submitted, how long it takes for them to?
It depends on IRS.
It takes a while for the 501c3 to come in, but essentially as soon as you file the corporation, you can begin operation. But that 501c3 status may come in, may arrive later, the actual documentation of it.
Got it.
The food pantry, which is the most recent one that, I've helped with, it was about 5 months.
Once the IRS just
Yes.
certify it.
Right.
That's not too bad.
No. And we used an attorney.
Yeah, about when do you think you start asking for board members? You have to wait until it's certified, or can you initiate that?
I think I'll just be volunteers until.
I guess that's what I'm asking. Is that something we should be looking at, and should we be looking for certain interests represented, certain experiences represented? And is that something we should be doing now?
I think in the sense of that part of the bylaws, maybe that would be where Let's focus and start giving a rough draft of the bylaws, so we can tweak that a little bit. If that process started, so maybe we get some people interested so that they can be involved in it. Remainder of the process. My idea. Usually it starts with a bunch of people who want to be on the board. And so finding them. And thinking about my suggestion a while back is how to select and or at least to create nominees. That would be a way to start.
Yeah, whether it's in the bylaws that people have to fit into certain categories, that's a discussion we can continue to have, but especially to get it started, we may be looking for that cultural, historical person and the arts person and the ecology person and maybe a lodging person. I don't know. But we can at least start to give that some thought.
Yeah, you do want to be careful in the bylaws not to make it
Right.
so specific
Yeah,
that.
that can be a
you change your
problem.
Bylaw all the time, because suddenly you don't have, Mr. X in the community, so.
Maybe the food pantry would be a good model to use as to start with.
Yeah.
All the names.
Bruce, when it comes to the actual contract, I think we talked a little bit about this last time. Can we start to get some of the key terms of the contract that the city would want to have in there?
Like a boilerplate? Like a boilerplate?
Well, if the boilerplate's available, yes, but I'm just wondering about what those
Just started getting it's not a full draft of a summary of what it looks like to get the lawyer, somebody to start thinking about it and assemble.
we need to be able to have that oversight, be starting to wrap our heads around what that looks like, what the city is going to require of this nonprofit to run this this facility.
Yeah, we can get you something.
And if it's, there's a boilerplate that we think covers it, then that's great. Anything else on the nonprofit and those steps?
I'm just gonna open up a tangent and I'm not gonna do it.
Good restraint.
It wasn't a can of worms. It was just a tangent, just to be sure.
Okay. Sure.
Well, there will be plenty more opportunities, I'm sure, for you. Okay, let's talk about the third-party event discussion here. So there is essentially an analysis of the other rentals in town and the way they handle things. So that's the document that you've got.
And who does it?
That's not quite.
It's an initiation. We started and we got somewhere and then we found out there was some more. So
Yeah,
Carrie did a great job at finding out the big ones.
but there's a number of places on there that are not represented on this.
We're gonna
list.
expand on
This is
So
an early draft.
this is actually an analysis of what I've spent the last 3 weeks working with Sam on. And Andrew has not been present or commented on anything in the last 3 weeks. So
That's
I
not
want to
true.
make sure that everybody understands that what you have in front of you is what we have done so far with the information that was available to me as I researched our third-party rental opportunities in Cannon Beach. So what you have in front of you is what I have found. And Sam and I have discussed what we thought were the important points of third-party rentals that we need to have a contract. I gave a good example of our Cannon Beach Community Hall having a really nice, simple, straightforward contract. And also just the parameter of what everybody else is doing as far as are they only doing a third-party rental if it is hinged to hotel rooms. Or if there are only two community-based halls that I found that were not commensurate with room rental, was the community hall and the Cannon Beach Community Church. So there's very few rental opportunities that are completely open to third party. So I thought that gives us a nice view that we have a lot of opportunity with our NECUS operation to fill out third party rental needs. And how we do that, how we go about doing that is still a matter of discussion. But I want to just put out what is already out there, and then that will lead us to how we want to hone our proposal for how to do operations. But this is just an analysis of what is already out there.
Sure. And I want to correct the record. I responded extensively yesterday.
Oh yeah, at 4 o'clock, Andrew. Good job. After 3 weeks. Good job. Nice try.
All right.
You didn't even acknowledge Sam's emails, Andrew.
Yes, I did. Would you have some personal respect, please?
Andrew, I am calling you on the carpet for not participating.
I did. I participated.
All right. The sign says kind and respectful, and actually Dick wanted to say something.
Comment, is that in the packet?
No,
Sorry, it's something that we've got printed.
I emailed it.
Came in late.
I did forward it. So I don't know if he could look in his email, but
Oh, it's probably in your email now, if you can check that, but
Thank you, thank you.
it's really just a look at the other facilities.
And I want to point out some of the facilities that were not listed on there.
Yeah, let's hear some of
The
them.
Coaster Theater offers private rentals. And that's a 198 seat venue. The Sea Ranch offers weddings, and they have an event center in there.
They told me they did not, Andrew, on the phone.
I
They said
didn't.
no.
You wrote in your own email that said it could be booked a year in advance.
Only by people in the park, using the camping park. It has to be done a year in advance by people that are already in the park.
Yeah, I mean, they have.
So in other words, if you do a
I've hosted
family
events in the
reunion
past,
and you
but-
take up camping spots, then you might be able to use
That's
the
something-
hall if they don't already have it specified, because I was on the phone talking to these people.
Carrie, let me just inject here. I talked to Carmen yesterday and she says she'd like to be able to rent it. She doesn't have the staff. And she will in the future if she can find the staff.
Sure, that's all good.
then we
Sam,
talked about-
this is a time stamp on what we got done in the last 3 weeks.
I know.
Right now, this is the timestamp. And guess what? Haystack Garden's not in here because it's in flux right now and they don't have a rental program. They very well might have a rental program on January 1st, but right now for this timestamp, for this document, they're not participating.
Andrew, were there others?
Tolivon Hall's an event space. Mike Morgan and Beth Holland have a garden and greenhouse, but that's on a more ad hoc basis. I don't know if it's open to just anyone. The History Center has a space that is used for meetings and rentals in their facility. Let's see. And I think the big one we always forget about it is the conference center.
Oh, it's on here. It's Tolivon Inn.
No,
The conference center.
the Christian Conference Center.
Oh,
He's open.
they won't do third-party rentals.
How do they have the ham dinner there?
They do a third party.
It has to be church, it has to be conference center related.
Yes, that's what I mean, but they'll do from other.
That's not a third-party rental. That's a conference center event.
Okay, so what direction would we like to give our committee here on
Besides
Third
getting.
By the
Party
way,
rentals.
all that information, Andrew, would have been really helpful 2 weeks ago. Really helpful.
Well,
Okay, we heard that.
And yes, there is a deadline for getting something in for the packet, so we all have time to look at it. So we probably need to get a little bit better at that time frame so that there's a report in every packet that we can look at in advance. And
We were
So-
a little challenged just with the timing and back and forth. And that's understandable. I have some questions that I would like the rest of everybody kind of to give some feedback on, and we've talked about it in the other aspects of what we programming aspect, but the seasonality, I think, is a important thing for us on our end of the rates and the scheduling process. And how to, because we obviously had a mandate to avoid the big events in the summer. We all know that. We just need to know, how do we word that in a facility marketing system so that when we do have those open times and a nice open space, somebody can use it for something. That's one aspect.
And if someone has a third-party event and they arrange their own transportation, they have their own shuttles or whatever.
We're still not doing
But then-
it. It depends on how big it is. If we're not doing it in the summer, if it's too big. I think that's just that to me should be a hard and fast rule.
Yeah.
Nothing that's going to draw or interrupt traffic or parking in the summer happens in the summer. Now, obviously,
It's obviously something that both plans, the programming and third-party events has to address, is the whole seasonality thing as a next step.
and also in that same aspect, our own internal programming needs to be very cautious of that
Yeah.
same concept.
Mhm.
So the exhibit spaces and the classroom size events are the summer events. The bigger ones, we move off into the shoulder or the winter.
All the third-party event spaces use seasonality, and they all are very flexible in those shoulder seasons. So I think that what the conclusion of the analysis was is that you're absolutely correct, and that you do have to be flexible. I gave an example of, we rent $8,000 for a Saturday, but I had dates open and had a celebration of life approach 3 weeks ago, a little over 2 weeks ago, and ended up having a celebration of life for 250 people on Friday. So for a very low cost, for $1,500. So it was a very opportunistic open date. And that's where you really have good salespeople and management to be able to price according to demand and also opportunity. So you're right, you have blocked out dates that just aren't going to be available for weddings or any other kind of celebration or whatever you want to block out, you block it out, but then you're opportunistic in the rest of the calendar so that you can obviously have a good use of this asset. That's what we're after, is to try to maximize the use of the asset. And then serve the community and serve tourism.
I don't know about the maximizing the asset. I'm worried about privatizing a public space.
Why? We're not talking about that at all. That's never come up.
What do you mean?
That's never I don't even understand where that's coming from. That's never come up. Nobody's talked about privatizing this.
Sure, yeah, when it's rented out, it's not a public space anymore.
I think this is
And that would go with the community hall too, because the community hall, which is rented out, and then it's no longer a public space because it's rented out for a party or for a meeting.
yeah, and it has lost its sensibility as a community hall a long time ago. So
Well, they're very busy and very happy. I had a great conversation with them. So I'm in big admiration of what they're doing. And I would say there's a huge opportunity because they are booked out and busy. And I think there's a lot of pent up demand and need out there. And I also talked to hotels about their banquet spaces and say that they have to turn plenty of potential renters away because they're booked out. So
That's the exact
there's a lot
caution.
of opportunity here.
Yeah. This is the exact caution I was saying about when the board starts to go business rather than humanities. So this is the.
No, there's not an either. I don't see any either or here. This is a good balance of good community use as well as opportunistic use for tourism.
No, it's a
Remember,
government
that's our
starting a
mandate.
business.
I agree.
That's our
with-
mandate.
Carrie,
It is. It's
Carrie, slow down. I agree with the balance, as long as there's a balance. It's so easy for that balance to get tipped into the monetary that we have to be cautious. And this is where we got to start being really careful about opening it up too much so that sensibility of privatizing is out there. It's a perception. It's not a reality. It's a perception of privatizing when you hear something like maximizing the profits.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, that's not what I said. I said
I know,
maximizing
I
the
know,
asset.
Carrie, it's not what you said, but it's it's what's heard. It's the perception of.
Okay.
Then I'm
So-
lost. I'm lost, Sam. If that's,
So I can see at some point, we're gonna have these two schedules, the center programming, converging with the third-party event thing. I mean,
No, actually, the third party event thing is those empty holes.
yeah, that's what I mean.
So
Essentially, that's what I'm saying.
if you wind up with programming that fills the damn calendar, okay, but you're gonna start feeling the pinch when you don't have funding for the programs. Because the programs aren't gonna be funded with transit room tax, only the facility can.
Yes.
Well,
So
I disagree.
That's the challenge.
I think that the grant, we can get grants for the educational, which is going to help with the financial.
That's great if we can get grants. That's
Yeah.
a big unknown, but it's a high possibility.
And the third-party usage is going to support it as well, I think.
We hope so. So we have to make some windows for that to happen.
Right.
But we also have, this is running.
I don't like the whole interaction and the privatizing a public space. That's kind of inflammatory. You know, we are talking about a balance.
And that, that's where we're all at, I think, is where the balance is. We just got to be careful with the terminologies. Where's it going? One of the concerns that I'm having and trying to figure some of this stuff out is when we say we want to have exterior nonprofits, say the libraries or the food pantry wants to do a demonstration in one of the rooms. Do we rent it to them at no cost, nominal cost, or standard cost? You know, that kind of thing. Now, I'm willing to leave that up to the board and the staff on site to figure that out. But we need to create some sort of policy. At what point is a nonprofit the ones we allowed it or we give these opportunities to, or you know, a nonprofit from Spokane comes down and says, I'm a nonprofit, I want a freebie.
Well, I think those are some of the details that your committee is going to be continuing to develop.
And Sam came up with the framework. First party, second party, third party. First party being the nonprofit itself offering its own programming. Second party, or call it whatever you like, second party being community related, you know, beneficial events, supporting nonprofits, supporting whatever it is, food bank, fundraiser. And then third party would be, you know, a buyout.
Before we get too late here, and I do want to wind it down. Dick, are you still following?
Yep.
Do you have anything to say on third-party events and what you'd like to see, what you would not like to see, what you'd like the subcommittee to continue to flesh out?
Well, I think I think it's hard for us at this point to really call the shots. I think that we've all, some points have been raised that I think we need to, they're kind of like sunglasses, like shades, that I think those are concerns, and we need to make sure that these concerns are very obvious as we move forward with. I think it might be too early to come up with some pretty rigid or set guidelines, but I think as we move forward, we need to keep each one of these concerns on the surface and discussed regularly. But you know, it would be nice to have a calendar that had some, I guess, no, that's too early also. I guess, I guess that's about it.
Okay, well, yeah, I see that. Again, these calendars are going to merge, and first it's starting to see the calendar of the center programming. And that's going to define a lot about what can happen when there's not programming.
I think that also includes some of the program.
Yes.
So that's already happening.
Yeah.
So if I can jump in for a minute, I know. I was thinking that local nonprofits would be, you know, as opposed to a nonprofit from Spokane, nonprofits that are from the region, Cannon Beach, Seaside, would have a very low, if anything, at all, fee that locals would really be next to nothing.
Okay, so fee structure.
You know what, I was thinking about fee structure in a couple of ways. One, I think that another one of those things where the nonprofit should probably, that I don't want to see when we talk about competition, this big tourist paid for facility coming in and undercutting any existing businesses. I think that would be wrong.
I think we have to be sensitive.
And I think to set a price on a place where we haven't even seen what it looks like yet is pretty hard to do.
Yeah, I'm not sure about setting the price, but just some of these basics about these tiered fee structures, or who's no charge, or is it a maintenance charge? Just some groundwork here, I think, is where you guys are going.
Les was also mentioning, I'll speak for you, Les, okay? He was mentioning
I need to speak too.
the community grant, that people that community grants, will they be considered first, second, third tier kind, because we give money to them.
That would be the second part.
Tourism and Arts Fund.
Yeah.
Oh,
People.
Or the community grant program.
Or either, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, so I feel like that the calendar that Betty and I put together that I chose not to include in the packet probably should have been included. I think that Betty, I'll get with you, and then we'll send it to Jen. Maybe we can distribute it out, because we were very much trying to not dictate utilization, but to show the gaps in available spaces more than anything else. And I think it maybe would have been a good talking point. And I do have the map, the calendar mapped out with summer months highlighted, with the intent to help guide us to not put events in the summer months, if you will, or that kind of notion. But I would like to have a little bit of consensus among the group. Where do you think those summer months should start? Right now, I started Memorial Day and ended Labor Day.
with the Tourism and Arts Fund, basically sets, they have that, I don't know what, Jen, what are the
Shoulder season.
season? Is it Memorial Day, Labor Day?
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, I don't know,
Like,
but that's what I chose.
Like, you know, as we're finding, you know, September, it probably should go through September. Like, as we've seen our seasons, you know, change over time. I mean, it's
Could very easily start with spring breaks.
spring break till October.
Yeah.
But you know, again, all this stuff is just placeholders.
But yeah,
So anything is
but there is a,
getting it down on paper and then we can adjust.
the TA, the Tourism and Arts Board at least like has a working framework.
It actually says the shoulder or winter season in the application. So it doesn't specify the date.
Well, I mean, like, so you guys, when you do the cottage tour, that's like the first available.
Yeah.
And then I feel like you could even use tourism and arts money, maybe in early June, and that's like the cutoff around there, which it's probably needs to be, and like this for this. Space, it's probably that's too wide of a window.
Well, and one of the things they talk about in TAC is that the shoulder season is not the same as it was when TAC first started.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, very true. Okay.
Yeah, I say get something in there and let's fine tune it as necessary. Anything else burning before we look at next meeting dates?
One little comment on what you just said, was the fact that the summer is the best time for the static place.
Yes,
And they're the ones that are gonna take space and be open.
yes.
So actually reverse planning that is saying, when are we gonna have the best audiences for the static displays? Or interior display. Like with the exterior. So that's just another way to look at it.
Okay, Jen, can you help us find some dates?
Okay, so are you thinking October?
I'm thinking, let's give our subcommittees 2 weeks to, Les already has the calendar halfway done, so, or most of the way done, but I think giving us 2 weeks to work.
At least 2 weeks. Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, so if we are October 2nd. So do you want to look at the 23rd would be 2 weeks from now?
Have a meeting.
Oh, we have a meeting on the 23rd. You're right. We also have a meeting on the 16th. So do you want to look at the week of the 16th or 23rd?
I don't want to look at the week of the 23rd because I'm out of town.
Okay, so the week of the 16th,
By the early part of that week.
well, the only dates the council chambers is available on that week is Wednesday, the 18th or Friday, the 20th.
And I'm not available.
Oh, that's right, because that would be the third Wednesday.
You're not good Wednesday,
I'm gonna be,
Working Wednesday.
Wednesday, the 18th?
Right, he works on Wednesday and I have another.
Okay.
the 23rd is not available.
Yeah.
You'll be at a meeting.
Yeah. I know, I'm seeing that on there and I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
How about the 30th?
Date.
Yeah, the 30th is available.
Oh, that's, oh, yeah.
What day of the week is that? Is that a Monday?
Monday
Another board meeting.
on
What are you on, Barb?
the 31st is available, but it is Halloween.
Which one's isn't?
No Halloween.
Isn't she? The 30th?
It's the 31st.
I know that's a long
Tuesday.
time, but
I have a meeting that night. Another.
We could look at day meetings if you guys wanted. I don't know what your
Well.
day meetings, if that's an option.
The reason we didn't do day meetings is because of Sam.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Wednesday.
I work on Wednesdays.
Yeah, see, that would work.
Isn't
Are
Halloween?
we going into November now?
Yeah, but that's, we don't want to do it on Halloween, on Tuesday,
And I suppose nobody likes early.
31st. We're talking about the 30th, which is Monday, and the 31st, which was Tuesday.
How about,
My dog does not like me to have early morning meetings.
how about November 2nd, a Thursday?
November 2nd.
That is available because that was on my list to provide you guys with potential dates for council meetings. So you guys are actually getting in early.
I see what you did there. A good one, Barb.
Taking. Everybody,
Which one are we talking about?
Thursday, November 2nd.
Sure.
Okay, at 5:30?
At 5:30, yes, okay.
That works.
Good.
So just a quick reminder, the packet goes out a week in advance. So if the meeting is November 2nd, the packet will go out October 26th. So if all information can be to Tessa by the end of the day, the 25th.
25th. Okay.
Everybody got that?
I don't understand, like, if we're, because does Tessa want, like, if we're just having long email chains of replies, is that like? No.
No, it's more like,
There's got to be some kind of report.
yeah, it's a report.
Say the day again that you need
Uh,
information for the packet.
let me pop into my calendar real quick, sorry.
25th.
The end of the day, the 25th, so Tessa can put the packet out on the 26th.
And not to make Tessa's work any harder, but she was very kind to Betty and I, getting our stuff into her. So she's willing to negotiate.
What did you promise her?
That I'm not telling.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, so the packet reports are due on the 25th by end of day.
25th or 26th.
25th, end of day, so she can get it in on the 26th.
Got it.
Okay.
All right.
We have good of the order.
It's 7 o'clock.
I know it is.
That was my computer.
I thought it was Roberta.
Does anybody have anything for good of the order? We have 1 minute. No.
No, we don't.
Hearing nothing, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Oh.
Thanks, Barb.
Right at 7 o'clock according to my calendar.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Dick.